Hello all our Facebook followers, welcome to Runaway Orphanage. We're going to show you around today and have a talk about what we do here and introduce you to some of the bunnies. So first of all, this is where we operate from. This is the orphanage here, the outside of it, and our home is over here. We live on site. When we bought the block of land, the garage was all that was here. It's since been renovated. We had a 4-year struggle to get our permits, and then we were able to actually establish the orphanage and build our house. So let's go in and we'll show you around. So we're going to first have a look at some of our sanctuary bunnies, which are permanent residents with us because of their existing health conditions, and then we'll go into the main part of the orphanage. So welcome to our home. Now first we've got, in this corner, we've got Berlin and Leah. The little black bunny is Berlin, and he was left at our gate about 2 years ago in a cage that said, "Find me a new home." Little Leah is a dental bun, and she's on her third little husband now. Her little husbands keep dying on her. She's 9 now and doing really well considering what she's up against. So they live permanently with us. Just next door to them, we've got a little threesome. Memphis is a white bunny at the front. Behind him is Summer, and opposite Summer is Watson. Now little Memphis was rehomed about 4 years ago. He was rehomed to a good home, we thought, and bonded with another little bunny. He was returned to us 2 years later. They'd put him outside. His friend was killed, and he came back with injuries to his back, and he had to have an eye removed as well. So he's a little bit challenged physically, but can move around and absolutely adores the other 2 bunnies. Summer, she's a cashmere with the black eyes. She loves the other 2 and she looks after them. She's perfectly healthy. Little Watson, next to her, once again, they're in our foster program, and one day, a lapse in judgment, they were left outside. He was attacked and had his eyes scratched, and he's now completely blind. But they actually are never caged up. They have their little space here, their little house area, and they can actually hang out in the lounge room. They'll usually find a spot under one of the pieces of furniture. I have to show you one of my bunnies, the picture of my bunny. This is Marley, and she was my little heart girl. She was, we started off with 8 rabbits of our own, and Marley died 2 years ago now, and she was the last of our 8, apart from Tulip, who died 2 weeks later. Little Tulip was bonded with Marley and literally died of a broken heart when Marley died. She used to be our little meet and greet girl here. She'd run up to you, stand by you for pats, and if you didn't notice her, you get a little scrabble on the legs. We miss her every day, and she's always with us. She's an integral part of what we do here, and one of the reasons why we started our rescue. There's another little bunny here too. This is Dude, and Dude's in our foster program, and it's great to see Dude eating, because he came in last night because he didn't want to eat. So we've been supportive caring him here to get him back on track before he goes back into his home with his foster carers. Now Miss Moneypenny, we have to meet Miss Moneypenny. Miss Moneypenny lives in the little alcove in the hall. She's an absolute sweetheart, but she is a bit nippy on the ankles, so she's very difficult for us to rehome because of that. So she just hangs out here, and she can go up the stairs into our bedroom, which she does at night. She'll come up with us for a while and then she'll come back down here. Now we've got 2 other little residents that we have to introduce you to, and that's Tofu and Bunny. And Tofu and Bunny have a little alcove under the stairs. It's a little Harry Potter setup. They come into our kitchen whenever they like, but when they want to rest, they'll find their little space there and they'll just rest in there. They're both 9 years old this year, so most of our little sanctuary bunnies are 8 to 9 years old, apart from little Memphis. So we'll go into the orphanage now and we'll show you the bunnies in there. Just while we're walking around to the orphanage, we do have, we started a corporate sponsorship program last year, and we just need to mention our sponsors because without them being the first to come on board to help us, it's leading the way for other businesses to also help us. So one of our main sponsors is Fortes Accountants, and they're in the western suburbs. And when we had the tragedy with losing our car just before Christmas, they kindly donated a vehicle to us, and they also sponsor one of the enclosures. There's also a new sponsorship that's coming from Purple Taxi, and they're a cosmetic company that uses all natural products, and they're cruelty-free. So watch out for them. They've only come on board this week, so we'll be getting their information up on our website. There's also Thank You Hampers, Cloud BT and Loanbase, who also sponsor the sponsorship Save a Bunny a Little Time, or Buy a Bunny a Little Time, I should say, which is one of the more minor sponsorships. The vehicle that they were kind enough to donate, Chai will just film there for us. We've still got a little bit of work to do on it, but it's been brilliant. So we'll go through to the orphanage now. So just in here, this is where the bunnies all are. So welcome to Runaway, everyone. So just inside the door here, we've got little Pandora and Dexter. Pandora and Dexter are our longest residents here, and we would love to see them in a really good home. They've been here for 3 years. They were born on site. All of their siblings were rehomed, but they've been waiting. They've had the odd short-term foster home, but they just keep coming back to us. When they're in their own space, they're binky around and they're really happy little bunnies, but a little bit on the shy side to start with. So the top part of the orphanage here is where most of our special needs bunnies are, or our surgery bunnies. So we keep them up here so that we can keep a good eye on them and make sure that health-wise that they're okay. We have one little girl. You might have seen our promotion to get funds together for all the rabbits that are coming over the Christmas New Year period. And one of the little bunnies, Faye, is in this top enclosure here with the little fairy cover. Now Faye is struggling. She struggles with her health. We'll just move this back and we'll be able to see her, hopefully. So she's only a young one. She came in with a bite on the side of her face, and she's had a surgery already, plus 3 visits to the vets to clean that out. And the bite went into fly strike prior to her coming into us. She has to go back in 2 weeks and have another surgery where they'll open up one of the lumps on her face and clear it out and just make sure everything is okay there. So any donations are going towards bunnies like Faye, who came in over Christmas. Faye, the way we spell Faye is F-A-E, which is for fairy, and she's an absolute sweetheart, that little one. We'll have a look at a couple of boys now. The 2 little guys here, Cookie and Alf. We have had an influx of little dwarf bunnies coming in. This is Cookie. Cookie's decided to give us a bunny butt. Oh, there you go, a big flop around. So here's a little Netherland dwarf, and he was just dissexed during the week. With your donations that people have been donating, we've had enough funds to get some of the bunnies done. And little Alf was also done during the week as well, and he's another little Nettie dwarf. So they're both looking for their forever homes, these 2. Come on, sweetie, here you go. Put that little foot back. We have a very old bunny called Sarge here as well, and Sarge is down in this enclosure. Now Sarge was found very, very skinny. He's an agouti giant and very arthritic, and he had mites in his ears and on his fur, which we've had treated. He's just been desexed also, and he's had an x-ray done on his back legs, which showed that there was degeneration of one of the hip bones and knee bones. So he's on a course of antibiotics, for arthritic type medication for that. He's had his mite treatment and he's on quite high pain relief. But he's absolute sweetheart, and one of our volunteers has put up her hand to permanently foster Sarge. We just have to wait till his medications are completed, this round of them, and then he'll be able to go into his foster home with Adrienne, hopefully. Now, just up the top here, we have little Stella. And Stella came in just a couple of days ago. Stella's actually got a broken leg. She went into Dr. Brendan at Warrenwood just yesterday, and she had that checked, and she's doing really well. But we think she could be a larger breed of bunny because of those big ears, and she's quite young at the moment. So we're hoping that the leg will knit, so she doesn't have to have anything else done. But if it doesn't knit, the outcome could be amputation. So we're hoping that Stella doesn't have to go down that path. But she's doing really well, and she's a happy little girl. We have another little bunny here, Bob. Now Bob, for those of you that don't know what a little bush rabbit looks like, Bob is actually a bush rabbit. And he was brought into us by people that found him hanging out on their property, and they didn't know at the time that he was a bush bunny. Now with bush rabbits, once they're in your care, it's against the law to release them, so the choices are euthanize or care for them. So we choose to desex them and care for them and find good homes for them where they can be safe. As I said, it's against the law to actually release them. Bob's quite a sweetheart. It's interesting with rabbits, if you put them in an outdoor environment, their little prey instincts can kick in and they'll become scared of you. If you have them in a domestic environment, they will domesticate quite easily, whether they're a bush rabbit or whether they're a domestic rabbit. And this is why a lot of bunnies are surrendered, because people put them outside and then their little prey instincts kick in and they become scared of people, so they give up and give them up. This is Cranberry. Cranberry came into us from one of our associate rescues. A lot of the mainstream rescues will transfer bunnies over to us, but the mainstream rescues also will desex them before they come out, which is a great help for us. Cranberry was one of those bunnies. We also have them coming from vet clinics where they're handed in as strays as well. Now the next bunny is little Izzy, and Izzy and his little family have a story to tell. Izzy came into us a year and a half ago now with 24 other rabbits that were caught in the Seaford area from someone that was breeding. When the home that was breeding them was confronted about the rabbits, we were told, oh, they belong to her 4-year-old son. Her 4-year-old son was responsible for these 2 rabbits, which then turned into about 24 rabbits. They were cared for in the foster home until we could get them over here. And when they did come over, we had a distress call from the carer that one of them was unwell and another one had died. So we got them all over, quarantined them in our quarantine area. And about half of those bunnies passed away. And after test results with our vets, it turned out that they had this type 2 Khaleesi. Now type 2 Khaleesi is a rogue strain that's come into the country. It's not one that's released by the government, and the vaccine doesn't work on these bunnies. So we found out over the last year or so. But the interesting thing was that some of these bunnies survived and other ones passed away. So just excuse me a minute while I get the phone and try and just show you some of the other bunnies. So back again, little Izzy. Izzy's the Energizer Bunny. He's a ball of energy. He's in everyone's face and he just loves, oh sorry, not Izzy, Ajax, we've done Izzy. And he just wants pats. He wants to interact with people, but he can actually be a bit nippy at times. Just if you put your finger down, he may think it's a carrot and bite you. But most of the time this is all he wants is pats. Here's another little Netherland dwarf. I'll just pop you back in there, Ajax. He was found. He was lost and someone found him and brought him in. Now these little cherubs, we love these bunnies. This is Eddie, who's a single dad. Not that one, the big white one. And Eddie's the single dad, and these are his 3 kids. Elmo, Eliza and Vegas. Vegas is a white one. Oh, sorry, the black one. These guys were found in Pandora. They'd been dumped there. And it took the rescuer 4 hours to catch them all. And when they came in, we thought first that we had mother and babies. And then we found out we had Eddie, who was a single dad with the 3 babies. They were very underweight. They were very dehydrated and they nearly died. And we had 3 days with the babies, a supportive care for them. And now they're all healthy, happy little guys. They are cashmere, so they do require grooming, but the orphanage provides free grooming services for any of the cashmeres that we rehome to make sure that they can stay comfortable and they're not going to get too matted. The bunnies down the bottom, in the next page, this is Lucien Alvarez. And Lucien Alvarez came in, their mum came in pregnant. And these 2 little guys had a condition called floppy bunny syndrome when they were babies, where it's a type of paralysis. The vets don't know what actually causes it, but a lot of rabbits that get floppy bunny, they can't move, and it can take 3 to 5 days for them to get their mobility back. But sadly, if the paralysis goes to the heart and lungs, they can die. If they survive for a day, if they survive for 2 days, they're likely to come through it. But if not, we lose them usually a day and a half in or sooner. But these have got a lovely home now with Monkey and Eliza, and they're looking after them permanently for us. But they're just away having a break for a week, so the bunnies come back to us free of charge while they're away, and we just look after them here until they get back on track again. And we'll see who we've got around the other side. Up the top, with our corporate sponsorship program, we mentioned the sponsors before. Any business can sponsor, and we do have a range of sponsorships to suit most businesses. This is Harry. Harry was a stray, and he's a lovely little bunny too. He's only recently been desexed, so he's not a candidate for bonding yet. We quite often have existing bunny owners will bring their little rabbit in, their desexed rabbit in, and we will bond them with our orphan bunnies. It can take a couple of days here for a successful bond, because we move at the pace of the rabbits and make sure that they're not stressed and that they have time to actually get to know each other. With bonding, one of the main things is to establish the dominance hierarchy, because if we've got 2 dominant rabbits, well then there is a risk that they can fight. In fact, it's pretty much a given that they will fight. Male and female is also the more stable bond. So with the male rabbits, once they're desexed, it can take 12 weeks before they're actually ready for bonding, for the hormones to go away once they're desexed. This is Sandy. Now Sandy's ready because he's been desexed for 3 months, so he's a candidate if there's any little girl bunny wives out there looking for a husband. Well, Sandy may be the man. He's a sweetheart. He was a stray as well that came into us. Out of all the rabbits that come in 15 years, we've only had 2 rabbits that have been microchipped and 1 that the owners have found the bunny and come forward. And out of the 2 that were microchipped, neither of those people that did own the bunnies actually wanted them back, which is a bit sad because they'd moved on. The rabbits had been lost for 6 months or so before they were handed in to us and we were able to contact the owners. The fact that they actually survived is a miracle in itself. So we'll go downstairs now, Chai. We'll have a look down there. So Chai's helping us today. She's one of our regular volunteers and she also does a lot of our Facebook and electronic website stuff. Just before we go downstairs, just up here, this is our little vet area. So we have the rabbit doctor comes to visit us every fortnight. We've got a little bunny here at the moment, Mercury, who's been a bit sad because his owner's overseas. So he's the special needs, or his carer's overseas. So he's actually, we've put him up in this area so that he can just chill out, and he's so much happier. So he should go home today, hopefully, if there's no issues with his carer's flights and things. But the rabbit doctors come out here fortnightly. They'll vaccinate all the new bunnies and give them a once-over checkup, and then we'll make appointments to have any surgeries done at the clinics either at Warrenwood, which is another one of our excellent vets, which is out our way, or at the rabbit doctors, which is in Collingwood. The rabbit doctors also do a great job, and they also do home visits as well. Here's little Mercury. You see he's got a little tooth coming out there. He's had his front teeth out, but one of the little pig teeth keeps growing back, so he has to have that trimmed intermittently. Hello, little man. Yeah, so he seems to have imprinted on me while the owner's been away. Yeah, so he'll be going home hopefully today. Good boy. Now the orphanage is in 2 sections. We've got a top area here, and then we've got the lower part of the orphanage as well. So most of our larger enclosures are down here for our couples or our giants. Okay, so who have we got here? This is Butterscotch and Albus. And Albus is a white bunny and he's been adopted from us. His carers are away at the moment, so they're just with us for a week or so while I sort out some problems that they've got. So we do support our adoption bunnies as well as our foster bunnies. If anyone needs anything from us or any help, we're always here. Either just a phone call away or on the Facebook page. Our volunteers are on Facebook, which can help, and anything that might be a bit tricky, they can get in touch with us. We don't always have time to go on Facebook because we're just too busy. Butterscotch is also adopted from us as well. She's the big giant girl there. So they're a bonded pair. Now the little guys below, Atom and Ada. Now these are 2 of 5 rabbits that were found on the Olinda Basin Road, which is literally around the corner from us. It's a dirt road, and we found 5 dumped there over the last week. This is Ada. The other little bunnies are also Himalayan, like Ada. A little Atom is a Kashmir. They're quite young, probably only about maybe 5 months or so, 5 or 6 months, but they've recently just been desexed. We've got a little boy and a little girl. Atom just gave me a lick, which is sweet. So these little guys are up for adoption as well, and once again we can help you with Ada's care should you need grooming help and that sort of thing with her. Once their little boys are desexed for more than 3 months, they'll become a lot cleaner with their toilet as well. But in the orphanage, there's always some territorial markings because it's their way of telling the other bunnies that this is their house and to stay away from them. Now we have, just opposite us, we have two giants. This is Odette and Hermes. Now Odette and Hermes, this is Hermes and Odette has the beauty spot. These lovely bunnies, we bonded Hermes with Odette a couple of years ago, and their owners for work have to relocate to the Northern Territory. So they faced an agonising challenge whether to surrender them or whether to take them with them. They were very worried about flights up there. They have decided to take them with them, so they've already gone up there to get themselves settled, and the bunnies are with us so that we can coordinate with them their flights and get them on the flight when the time comes up to the Northern Territory. So this is a good news story because we're all a bit sad to think that they might have to come back into rescue. So rescues are set up to help people. They shouldn't really be a dumping ground for people that can't be bothered with their pets. They were set up originally to help people that might be ill, unwell, have difficult housing arrangements, or are facing situations like Odette and Hermes' owners are at the moment. So these are both giants. They're gorgeous bunnies, these. Now we have another bunny here too that we're also offering support for the owners. So in this cage we've got a little guy called Squish and Darlene. Squish is the lighter coloured bunny, and Squish's owner is facing some quite serious health challenges and has to go up to Queensland to stay with his family for a year while he recovers. So we've taken over Squish to look after him while he's away, and we've bonded him with one of our little rescues called Darlene so that he's actually got company here. And this is the sort of thing that rescues were set up for, not just for a dumping ground for people that can't be bothered with their pets, but that's what it's turned into, unfortunately. Daisy and Donovan. Daisy and Donovan came in from one of our vets where they were handed in. They were supposed to be strays, but they're very bonded, so we think that they probably were just unwanted. And they are absolute sweethearts. They're allowed to breed, both with lovely dark eyes and a bit of flecking through their fur. So Daisy and Donovan now have had all their vet work done, so they're up for adoption as well. We need a loving home for them. Really sweet bunnies too. Now let's see who else we've got. Here's a couple of little sweeties here. These little guys have already got a home. This is Sunflower and Ace. Little Ace, we bonded with Sunflower. Ace is a black and white bunny. And Sunflower, these guys are being looked after by one of our volunteers now. He's a permanent foster carer for them, but they're going through some personal renovations and things at the home, so the bunnies are just with us until we can sort that out, until they get their house right. The other little girl, Sunflower, she was dumped in the Botanic Gardens with 3 other rabbits, and all of them had some health issues. She's a cashmere, and we keep her fur short because it's easier to manage, particularly in the heat. But you can see she's only got half a little ear, and her little back foot too, she's missing part of her back foot. Now whether that was an injury at birth or whether she was attacked at some time, we don't really know. But yeah, she's an absolute sweetheart. She's named Sunflower Van Gogh after Vincent van Gogh. So they're in our foster program. We also have down the bottom here 3 little bunnies that were surrendered recently, Violet, Sooty and Pumpkin. These little guys are very shy. There's one in the cat scratching post and one on top. Now these little ones are a little bonded threesome. Now there may be a chance that their previous owners may, I think they're missing them, and they may look at taking them back. So we still need to speak to them about that. But if they don't take them back. Well, they'll be rehomed as a little threesome. Now, with our adoption process, our adoption fee is $120, and that's whether you're adopting one rabbit or the threesome. The price is still $120 because we're more interested in finding the right homes for these little guys than recouping our vet care costs. We raise funds for the vet care costs through our fundraising and appeals and the other things that you've probably seen us advertise on Facebook. So the more rabbits we get in, the more we have to fundraise to make sure we can keep up with the vet bills. So we're moving now to Minty and Charcoal. And Minty and Charcoal have a very interesting story. They have a permanent home. Now, they were from a litter of 12, and they were the only two that survived. Their mother died when they were about a day old, and they came in and we hand-reared them, but we hand-reared the litter. Sadly, a lot of the little babies died from a condition called enteritis, which is they get guts in the butt, they get bugs in the gut because they don't have the protection of the cholesterol from the mother's milk and the fecal mass that they eat later on, which helps lay down the good flora in the gut. The Minty and Charcoal are both girls, and we did do a fund, we did have people actually put up a fundraiser to name them years ago. Now these two, both of them, I actually resuscitated, and I don't know who got the bigger fright, me or them, that they actually came back to life. It doesn't always have a happy outcome, but for this one, they're very special bunnies to us because of the bond we've got with them, to raising them, hand-raising them, and actually have them survive after trying to die on us. So they've got a permanent home, but their carers are just moving house at the moment. So these two are in our foster program because of their rough start, just to make sure there's nothing else that happens with them further down the track. With our foster buns, if there's any chance that there could be something wrong with them, well, we keep them in the foster program. Now we'll start down here with Teddy, I think. Teddy and two other bunnies came in from one of our associate rescues. From the Bendigo area these guys came. The other rescue may find it difficult to rehome the larger white bunnies, so we've taken Teddy over. He's got some issues with his uterine, so he's on antibiotics at the moment and pain relief, just to make sure that there's no infection setting in there. The other rescue actually dissects them for us, which was brilliant, so we don't have to worry about the basic costs of dissecting and vaccinating these little guys. Now the bunny up the top, Henry, he also came in with Teddy, but they're not related, but he came from the same rescue during the week, and he's a lot younger. He's probably about a year old, and the other rescue had him brought in separate to Teddy and another bunny that I'll introduce you to at the moment, called Bella Rose. So these guys have only been with us for a couple of days, so they're still rather shy. But that's Henry. So these, both Henry and Teddy, are both up for adoption, independent of each other. We'll move along now to meet Bella Rose, who also came with Teddy. And Bella Rose, she's a beautiful bunny too. She's a giant, probably a New Zealand white. She's probably about 3 or 4 years old. She looks like an older bun, so we're looking for a good home for her. If people are interested in giants, we can try and bond Bella Rose with Teddy and see if they are actually a bonded pair, because when they came from the other rescue, they were all in separate cages and had just been desexed, so we had to let them get over their surgeries first before we see whether they will rebond. Next little bunny here, Valerie. We'll come back to Valerie. Come on, sweetheart. She's a bit of a nervous girl, but she's been with us for a little while now, and she's in our foster program as well. because the little front feet seem to just splay out a bit. We don't think there's anything seriously wrong with her, but we just keep an eye on that in case sometimes she might need any medication for arthritis or anything like that. So she's also a giant bunny, so she's available either as a single bun to go into a home or to bond with your rabbit. If you've got a giant, we can try Valerie. But Valerie just needs a calm home. With rabbits, the relationship with them is built on trust. So once they feel nice and safe and they know who's caring for them one-on-one, who's giving them their food and treats, and they feel nice and safe, they bond with you and they'll follow you around and are really endearing little pets to have. We'll have a look at Simba and Sammy now, if we can see them up there, shall we? So these little guys they were surrendered together, unwanted pets, and they are both got some cashmere in them. So once again, they're both little boys, so that we suspect they're brothers. So they will go into the home together, and once again we will sort you out and assist you with any grooming that might need doing for them if and when it needs it. They're lovely little bunnies, those ones. So we'll go over to Zara now. Over here. Zara, come on. Come on. What you doing? This is Zara. Zara's an absolute sweetheart. She's very, very young. She's had a little bit of issue with her bottom. So it must have been sore. She had a bit of urine scald there, and we think a bit of a urinary tract infection. So we started her on medications, and she's so much brighter and happier now, and her drop-ins are looking a lot more normal than they were before. But Zara's available for adoption as well once we get her health issues sorted. She's an absolute sweetheart. Okay. So Zara's up for adoption. She's quite a young bunny. She hasn't had her desexing yet because she's a little young. We want to leave her another 4 weeks or so before we're able to deal with that. Good girl. Now Monty, little Monty here, he's also one of the survivors from the seaford rescue that came in with that Khaleesi. We think the little boys, because they were separated in their foster home, weren't actually exposed to it. But there's only Monty and Izzy from all those bunnies that are still to find permanent homes. So if anyone's after a little single rabbit and would like to look after Monty or Izzy, well then you know where they are. Come and see us. He's a little sweetheart. They're always a bit nervous of things that are a little bit different, so we're putting a camera in their face and they're not, some of them aren't too sure about that. So we'll go along now to Idaho. Idaho's a gorgeous black lob. She's on the larger side because she's so black. I hope you can see her there. She came in from one of the other rescues as well, and she's ready for her new home, and we're certainly up for bonding her. If you've got a larger breed of rabbit that you would like to try her with, well, Idaho is certainly available. And then we've got Scout up here. Scout's a beautiful bunny. Scout came from one of our other associated rescues because of her health issues. With the rescues that we work with, the mainstream ones, a lot of them don't have a foster program like we have. So if a bunny presents with health issues, it's difficult for them to actually deal with them, and the staff certainly do what they can. And they do have an option now of calling us, and we'll take over the care of that bunny. What the mainstream rescues will do is have the initial assessment done, de-sex and vaccinate them, and then they'll come over to us and they'll go into our specialised vets, both the rabbit doctors and Dr. Brendan Carmel and his staff out at Warrenwood, and from there they'll make an assessment of what needs to be done now. So Scout is a dental bunny, so she has had some issues with her teeth, and that's now under control and she's stable, so she's ready to go into a foster home. Her previous foster carer with the other rescue has expressed interest in taking her back and looking after her permanently because she fell in love with her. So we still need to follow that lead up, but if that doesn't eventuate, well then she'll certainly be available. She's the most beautiful temperament little Scout. She's a gorgeous little girl. Now we have to meet Rocky and Rollo, who you might have seen on our Facebook page recently. Rocky and Rollo are also two of the seafood bunnies, and these two we know were exposed to Khaleesi because they were bonded with Marvel and Mojo, their brother and sister, and Mojo and Marvel both died. They were a little foursome, and these two survived. So our vets seem to think that they will be immune to that type 2 strain of Khaleesi now. These little guys are on hold for a lady who's going to take them into her care and look after them, but they're just doing a move. They're moving house at the moment, so they'll probably go to their new home probably mid to late February. So that's a little happy story there with those two. The next little bunny is Blanche, and Blanche is not so happy a story. We rehomed Blanche about 4 years ago. She's a really sweet, natured, quiet little girl. She was rehomed, good home so we thought. Next we knew 4 years later she was left at the RSPCA in Pearcedale, and she was still microchipped to us, so they were kind enough to actually give us a ring and transfer her back under our care, which is what we do. So because she's an older bunny now, she's probably about 5 now, we've put her under our foster program. She is on a bit of a weight loss program, but she's self-monitoring that because she doesn't like pellets, which are put on the weight, and she does like her salad and her hay, so she's back eating her hay now. But she's a nice little bunny. It's a little sweetheart, that one. So we'll be moving out of the orphanage in a moment, but just before we go, we just wanted to, we've got this promotion, a hutch is not enough, because a lot of people think that it's fine to just put the bunny in a hutch. It isn't fine. They're very intelligent animals, they should be kept like an indoor cattle dog, and similar to what you saw in our indoor housing. A lot of rabbits, when they're locked in a hutch, will get very stressed and will just run from you, because being a prey animal, all they see is hands coming at them, and they may associate that with a predator coming towards them. They don't see like we see, they see in shape, so all they see is a shape. It's good to talk to your rabbit so they get to know your name, so they get to know that it's you, and associate that with you coming towards them, even if they can't see you at the time. They have broad vision so that they can actually sight predators from a distance. There's also a beautiful poem over here called In My Cage, and this was put out by the House Rabbit Society, and you'll be able to Google In My Cage, but it's really the story of rescue, is how rabbits are bought for Easter or for Christmas, put in hutches, rolled about, and then grow old in their cages and then end up being surrendered to rescue or let go. And in the past, a lot of them have ended up waiting to be destroyed in towns and shelters across the country. I'm happy to say nowadays this isn't what happens. Nowadays the main thing animals that they may find difficult to rehome. But the reality is that if you're surrendering an animal at peak times like the holidays, well then there is a chance that they may be euthanized if there's no space for them, because the rescues need to get those animals off the street, particularly the pounds. It's their job to keep the animals off the street so they're not breeding in the environment. And if there's no cages and they are really overrun, well then that becomes an issue, and sometimes euthanasia is the outcome. Not with us, we can just take all of the bunnies and we can accommodate here and then refer on elsewhere, or just have a reality check with the owners as to what actually happens to them. But most mainstream rescues are really good nowadays, and will try and reach out to private rescues to help where they can, if their programs don't accommodate that. So we'll go upstairs now. Some of you may or may not know that we're also the only chapter of the House Rabbit Society in Australia. And what does that mean? The House Rabbit Society has been going now for nearly 30 years. It's the most respected support network for house rabbits in the world. They advocate rabbits as house pets. We were approached in 2013 to start the first chapter in Australia because of our recognition of our understanding, care and knowledge about rabbits and house rabbits. To start a chapter, you must run a shelter firstly. The second criteria is that you must have 2 educators, House Rabbit Society educators. Now Bryce and I have been educators for a number of years, so we met that criteria because we had the orphanage. So the House Rabbit Society is an educational arm of rescue, and it's to provide support to other rescues where we can, and information and advice both to all levels of government, to individuals and to other groups. Whatever we can do to help, that's what we're here for. And the House Rabbit Society fills that need. So we combine both. The House Rabbit Society operates out of the same premises, so to speak. We're one and the same because we run Runaway Orphanage here. When we first started, we had an uphill battle to get our permits, and it was a struggle for us. But now, 4 years after that, we're able to actually build our house and to be secure in the knowledge that we could stay here with the rabbits and that there wasn't going to be a risk of them coming and taking the animals all the time. We fought tooth and nail for our permits. It meant that at one stage I had to actually retire from my work because I'm a university teacher. I had to retire and put my super into paying all the legal bills, which left us with very little. As I mentioned, when we first started, we bought this property for the rabbits. We didn't buy it to build a house here. We bought it because the facility, I could visualise it would be a good space to run the rescue. And then we thought we'd put a small house on it for ourselves, which we've done. People quite often laugh at me when I say that, but we've done everything around the wrong way. The other thing, people will ask me, why did we start the rescue? We didn't purposely start it. The rabbits found us. We lived in Glen Waverley and we had rabbits wander into our backyard a week apart, and at that time I was studying my PhD and I was looking at a section where, part of the research where the relationship we have with the natural world. So of course I was intrigued with the antics of the rabbits and the birds in the backyard and all the rest. We did the rounds of the neighbourhood, no one owned these rabbits. Another one arrived a week later, and then we found another little bunny in our street about 3 weeks after that, and then within 3 months 2 more came to the property. So it's like the word got out that we were there and the rabbits just came. The last 2 that we took in, we couldn't keep because by then we had 5 males, and anyone that's got rabbits will know under 6 males will fight. They're not from the same family, they'll fight. So we took those 2 bunnies to one of the mainstream rescues, and sadly they were both put to sleep. I was devastated. I spent the day crying and saying to my husband, I'm not taking an animal anywhere. And I think from that day forward, something clicked in me that I just had to do something. And we just started to support the other rescue, get the bunnies at risk out of there so that out from under the vet's eyes in case we were euthanized until their illness is healed, and then they'd go back to that rescue. And we found we were quite successful rehoming ourselves, and then we had rabbits starting to come independently to us. So that's how we started. We weren't rabbit people in the beginning. We've now 15 years down the track, and I can say now we are rabbit people, and without a rabbit in our life it wouldn't be the same. Now we do have, as part of our facility, a building that we're renovating at the moment, and it's our quarantine space. So we'll go for a walk out there and you'll see some of the bunnies that are actually in our quarantine. We had to stop everything pre-Christmas. We were starting to renovate the building. We had to stop everything and just cater for the bunnies coming in, and then we'll continue renovations once they're out of quarantine. This building itself, when we first came here, it just had roller doors where the windows are. It was dark and dingy. We were lucky enough to get an animal welfare grant a couple of years ago, so we were able to renovate the building and make it a lot nicer space for both our volunteers and for us to care for the rabbits. Shall we go out to quarantine? Have a look out there. So just clear this one. So this is the back of the property. We're quite often visited by all the wildlife out here. There's one other little group we will show you later once we've been to have a look at the quarantine bunnies. We've also got the little mother and the family of 10 babies, so we'll show you them too. Well, this is the quarantine area. This was constructed very quickly when we first moved up here as our first space for the bunnies, but now it doubles as quarantine and also part of it is our laundry. The bunnies are quarantined here for 14 days, just in case they carry calici or myxomatosis. So calici will show up in 3 to 5 days, and myxo will show up in 10 to 14 days. So we certainly don't want any of the healthy bunnies exposed, should the little rescue buns that come in carry something like that. We do have a very strict quarantine protocol, both here and in the main part of the orphanage, so that that minimises the risk of cross-infection from bunny to bunny. This little bunny here, this is Perry. And Perry and his little guy underneath him, which we'll show you in a moment, were two of the other rabbits that were found on the Olinda Basin Road. And as you can see, Perry looks very similar to one of the other little girls, to little Ada that we showed you earlier. Perry, you see that little face? So Perry will be up for adoption. He hasn't had his surgery yet because he's still in quarantine, awaiting his time here. Down the bottom is little Raymond, and Raymond actually came in with Perry. And here's the little white bun with pink eyes. And both these little guys were quite easy to catch. We had one of the residents in the Olinda Basin Road saw them, or the resident's son, and on his bike with a friend they managed to catch them both, put them in their helmets, cycled home and then rang us, and then they came out to us. So both Raymond, who you're seeing now, and Perry are both up for adoptions once they have their surgery, probably in 2 weeks' time. We've got two other little bunnies here. There's Echo. This is little Echo. So Echo and Shadow, we'll show you Shadow in a moment. These were rescued by one of our volunteers from a home that wasn't the best environment for them, and there was a high risk that they would be let go into the environment. Now little Echo is a dental bunny, so he needs to have some dental work done. He's also come into us quite urine stained and not in the best condition. So obviously that tells me that he was probably kept with other male rabbits that were just spraying each other, undesexed. So he's a sweetheart, and once his fur grows back and he has his molt, it'll come nice and clean. He has an appointment on Monday, that's tomorrow, with Dr. Brendan at Warrenwood, and he'll be desexed and his dental work assessed to make sure they'll do what they can tomorrow, and they'll make further appointments for him. So that's your money at work, everyone. That's Echo. Bunnies like Echo, as well as all the other little guys. So we still need to keep those funds coming in, because we can look after them, but we can't always raise enough for the amount coming in all the time to keep them off the streets and healthy. Shadow is over here, and Shadow's came in with Echo, and once again he was another one that was just neglected and not wanted from the same family. So he has an abscess on his body from a bite, we think, and that may have to have surgery to remove it. So he also goes into Dr. Brendan tomorrow to have a look at that and be desexed as well. You put your little foot back in, good boy. Down the bottom is little Radar. Radar. I think Radar's having a little snooze today. Radar's a little grey lop. And Radar was a stray. He was found and brought into us. There's so many bunnies that are just either escaping their outdoor cages or let go, and the lucky ones are actually picked up, and the ones that aren't so lucky are probably taken by predator animals or foxes, sadly. This is Wilder, and Wilder was also a stray. He was picked up and came into us, and I think that he probably will need, his drop-ins don't look quite normal, so there is a risk that he could have a condition called coccidia, which is treatable. It's a parasite that can overburden their body and they lose weight, and if not picked up they can actually die from that. But with bunnies like this, the coccidia develops from being kept in filthy conditions where they're sitting in their poo for weeks on end, and a lot of outdoor hutches sadly have that environment for a lot of the bunnies. So they do need a nice clean environment. They need to be cleaned every day, clean litter trays and hay trays, nice fresh water daily as a minimum. With our bunnies, they get a nice fresh salad at night, and they also get their pellet treats morning and night as well, just to make sure they're eating. We always use that food as a welfare check to make sure that they're okay. And any sign they're not eating, of course, we need to get them straight to the vet without wasting time. Now we have one little girl here that just came in last night, and she looks quite young. She's a Himalayan as well. We haven't named her yet. She was named, but it's a strange name that we can never remember. So we're going to choose a nice little name for her. So if anyone's got any suggestions of a little Himalayan girl for a little name for her, she's probably only about 5 months old at this stage. So she'll be checked by our vets when they're out on Wednesday. So these little guys, as I said, are in our quarantine space. In our quarantine space and also in the orphanage, we run virus lamps and filtration system, so it takes any viruses out of the environment, so it's nice clean air, virus free, as our way of also working with disease control. We work very closely with our vets as to how to minimise any risk for both Khaleesi, Mixo or anything else. We have a great lot of volunteers that work with us as well, and they're also up, a lot of them are bunny owners and really understand the risk factor to having a lot of rabbits housed together. That's why we have all of our bunnies in separate cages, because it minimises that risk of cross-contamination or infection should one of them be unwell. So we'll go back into the orphanage now. In fact, we'll go back and you can meet the little mother called Mystery and her babies. So Mystery and her babies, we've had to move out to a larger enclosure on our veranda, which is all mosquito proofed, because they are just everywhere. So these are some of the babies. They're growing at a rate of knots. And this is Mum in the middle here. They're nearly as big as the mother now. No, don't come out. So they're all looking for new homes, and we're looking to put them out in little couples, in pairs of two, in pairs, or little groups of three. You can hear the cockatoos in the background. The bunnies are all a bit worried about the cockatoos. It's all right. Okay, everyone. Mum's not worried, but the babies are lots of noise. Up in the hills here, we have a flurry of wildlife. We have every bird imaginable, the parrots, the cockatoos. We have families of magpies that sing to us every morning. They're all up in their little hay trays now, nice and safe, and Mum's still down here. So Mystery came in pregnant, and she was supposed to, no, she didn't come in pregnant, she came in with the babies. She came from one of the other mainstream rescues pounds, and she was supposed to come over to us the next day, and that night she had a litter of 12 babies. One of them sadly was stillborn, so we asked the other rescue / pound to hang on to her for a few days so that she could get into a routine of feeding the babies, and then she came out to us a couple of days later with all the little babies. Sadly, one of the little babies didn't survive the first week, but she'd managed to raise 10 healthy little boys and girls. We've got 5 of each, 5 females and 5 males, and varying colours and breeds as well. So Mystery's been desexed and vaccinated, so she's all ready, and it's just, we're going to have all the other babies vaccinated on Wednesday when our vets are out here, and then we'll have the little boys desexed as soon as the vets feel that their little testicles have descended enough to be done. And once the boys are done, well, then we'll be able to put them out into homes. So if you're interested in a young little bonded pair or a little threesome, or taking care of Mystery, we can bond Mystery, but we won't put any of these rabbits out by themselves because they're so used to being with all the others that it wouldn't be right to have them just as a single rabbit. And I think we've got the magpies that come for their afternoon tea. So we'll go and have a look at some of the birds that control our lives as well. Hello, you lot. Hello. So we have a family of magpies of 3 generations now that come morning, lunch, afternoon tea, very tame. There's also kookaburras, there's butcher birds. The younger ones, the magpies, are the ones with the lighter colour on their chest. But they'll come and sing to us in the morning as well. If we sit outside to have a cup of tea, we'll have all the birds out there singing and warbling at us. And then they'll walk around after us, follow us around till they get their little treats. The kookaburras will probably come later, I imagine. There we go, you lot. So it must be about time for us to close off our live feed today. So we'll go back into the orphanage and give you one last look. And don't forget everyone, it is pet adoption day today. So do consider promoting pet adoption over sale of animals. It is a better option because at point of sale for a lot of animals, the people that are selling them are salespeople. They're not experienced in the knowledge and care of that particular species. So if you're going to a rescue, they will be experienced, they'll have the knowledge and care and be able to pass that on to you to make sure that that animal that they're rehoming is the right pet for you. Whereas if you're going just through the normal outlets of breeders and other shops, they may have experience at sales, but they may not know that much about the animal as a pet. They aren't a child's pet. People see cuddly little animals in the pet shops and they just immediately think, oh, wouldn't that be great for my 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old? Well, no, it wouldn't be great. And 80% of the animals surrendered are from people that have bought them as a child's pet, and the children lose interest within a very short time, and quite often the animals are just put outside and forgotten about because of the short attention span for the child. The animals with a rabbit, they are a prey animal, so they need a responsible adult. There's also issues around their health, which can be very, very costly, and if you don't seek vet care when your bunny's unwell, they will die. So they're an exotic animal. They're looked after by exotic vets, or vets that have a lot of experience with rabbits, and not all the mainstream vets have been exposed to in any great depth to the rabbit when it comes to veterinary science. So we need to understand that as rabbit owners as well, the type of animal they are. In fact, any animal, if you're looking at adding an animal to your family, research well and make sure they are the right one for your lifestyle at this time. And by that way you'll help a lot with the issues around homelessness for animals. So shall we go back in and we'll have another little look around the orphanage, and then we'll leave you because we're likely to have visitors here today coming to see the bunnies. Let me just scan downstairs a little bit, and I'll leave you here. We'll just go downstairs. What I might do is just put the blind up too, so you'll be able to see outside as well. And Shai will scan around and give you one last look at the bunnies before we leave. If you're able to walk out with our Facebook followers, just out in front and show them the very front, and we'll finish off on that. I've got a surrender that's just come in, so I'll have to go and deal with that. And to all of our Facebook followers, thank you again for all your support. We couldn't do it without you. We're just the carers of the bunnies here, but it is a community effort, and we'll be in touch at some later time as to how else that you can help. but certainly at this crucial time for us, the donations will help with all the vet care and the surgeries to process all these little guys through so that we can get them into homes, and particularly for our high needs bunnies, which we've had a few of those come in, which are taking the vet care costs up into the thousands for us again. There's other areas that you can help further down the track, and it comes into the area of animal law to try and get something done about that, because with rabbits they're not covered under animal law, and because of this fact the pounds and shelters aren't obliged to really do anything with them. They do, and a lot of them will come out to us, the ones that they can't process through, but we need to keep that in mind, and at some time we may need to try and put pressure on the government to put them under animal law. We've worked for 15 years to try and have something done, and after 15 years we're still waiting. So we may need to get some community support behind us to actually do some sort of something that will highlight the plight that we face with the dumped animals. With the rabbits too, because there's no obligation to microchip them, there is that issue that when they are dumped there's no way to trace them back to the owners, so they get off scot-free. Well, I'll leave you with trying to have a walk around, and we'll finish off at the front, and with the our details are on the front. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us the live video today. It's the first video we have ever done, so give us some feedbacks and we would like to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and see you up in the orphanage. Thank you.